Greetings, educators. I, as the first speaker of the opposition team, are proud to present our case. So first, let's start with our stance. We disagree with the idea of initiating a political competency test in governments for politicians that want to run for office. Our goal is so that we would search for a better alternatives in order for political competency to exist and happen, as well as so that the public can trust politicians more. Alright, let's start with the lack of opponents. So based on the first speaker's speech of the proposition team, there is no explanation on the provider of the question and material itself, whether if it's from universities or by the government itself. This is fatal because the figure that are writing the questions on the test themselves has a very important responsibility if this motion is implemented. Right now, let's begin with our rebuttals. Even if a political competency test is a nice step in the direction of a political competency in government, well, this policy isn't actually that important and that significant enough and or not sustainable enough, because this policy can still be countered with the act of cheating done by the politician themselves and or by its political party. The act of cheating can include, for example, like leaking retest questions or officials paid by the politician to upgrade their scores, etc. The reason why politician and or political party can do this is because they have a huge sum of capital, of money, connections, and power to do this act. Because this political competency test can be cheated on, actually this motion does not fulfill the goals of striving for public trust in their government. Because obviously the citizen can just distrust the government even more, because obviously if, for example, national exam for high school students can be cheated on, then so does this test. Because of that, we are very proud to propose our counter proposal. This counter proposal is, if a test is needed for a political competency, it should not be done by the politicians themselves. It should be done by academic researchers, such as in professors from university and lawyers, and also like policy consultants in economy, sociology, infrastructures, etc., and other majors, right? So how does this test work? Well, this is actually a public test. It's a test about reviewing the politician's career and trustability, as well as their history of, like the corruptions, projects that they've done, and their impacts of the actions that the politicians have done in society. If it's any good, if it's any bad, does it change the current issues in society, etc., and other stuff, right? So now, this test will be done, like I said earlier, by academic researchers. They would also be done in public settings where audiences, or in this case actually, college students, can watch how these academic researchers do their tests or reviews the policy made by the politician. Alright, so with this mechanism, we will have a more politically neutral figure to do the test instead of the politicians themselves. Because of this, it would lessen the impact or like the potential of corruption, because this is done by a more politically neutral figure. Besides, these academic researchers or this respondent, let's call it that, would risk the integrity of their first university, their own education backgrounds, and they would just risk their life or public's view if they actually cheat in this test. Third, college students, especially those in law major, policy major, political science, and economic majors, would also pressure these respondents to answer with clear honesty and truth. The reason is, college student is likely to be very idealistic and like they will strive for honesty and competency from their own professors, for example. So if respondent answers the test or reviews policy done by the politician with an objectively wrong answers, they can be called out or be in a backlash and criticized by their own college student. Now let's start with the argument or burden of proof. Why is this principle isn't justified? This is because a political commodity test does not acknowledge the importance of emotional intelligence and as in emotional and moral value of the politician itself. This can lead to a scenario, a worst case scenario, where politicians with a lesser moral value can run for the office. This principle isn't justified because of the potential of it being rampant with corruptions, manipulation, and other cheating stuff, as I have said earlier. This principle or this political competency test for the politicians themselves isn't democratic and open as our counter proposal made by the opposition team. Even though yes, it does show the scores of the politician, it does not show how the politician actually answers this question, how they actually done this test. So it will have more risk of being rampant with, like I said earlier, corruption, manipulation, and etc. Because of that, we believe that this motion or this policy is just a waste of resource that can be allocated for a better way to strive for political competency and to gain public trust in their own government. Because of that, I, as the first speaker of the opposition team, are proud to stand against this motion. Thank you.